Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch, and today I want to talk about the Miami tournament that just happened. I want to talk about Sinner and the fact that he beat Dimitrov in the final. I want to talk about also maybe some stuff on the WTA side as well, such as Danielle Collins' victories and some of the incredible matches we had on that side, such as Alexandrova beating Swiatek and some other things as well. Those are a few things I'd like to talk about. Sinner, continuing off just a ridiculous form. He's won 42 of his last 45 matches, which is nuts. Crazy stuff from Sinner. And I'm excited to see if he can keep it up. And now it's clay courts. Both of the champions here, it's less sure that they're going to be as good on clay courts, but I'll tell you what, Sinner, I think that he is a guy that you absolutely need to look out for on clay courts. Slides all the time. He moves well on clay. His first Grand Slam quarterfinal was on clay as a teenager. He was the first man born in this millennium, born in 2001. First man born in the 2000s to get to the quarterfinal of a major. Managed to do that before Alcaraz, also being a little bit older. But yeah, so Sinner on clay courts will be interesting to watch. Monte Carlo in general, I might end off the podcast, I think, talking a little bit, just a very short kind of look at to Monte Carlo, because there's going to be a lot of videos coming up on this channel talking about Monte Carlo, such as Monte Carlo predictions, other stuff like that. So make sure, please, don't forget to subscribe and all of that stuff if you are new to Anthony's Tennis Hub, because there's a lot more stuff coming up as well. But yeah, Sinner gets the win over Dimitrov. Dimitrov had a really, really impressive run too. Dimitrov looked like he reminded me of prime Federer at points in this tournament. I'm not gonna lie. Quarterfinals against Alcaraz, the way he was returning, I'd never seen Dimitrov return like that. Right after the one-handed backhand left the top 10, and people are saying, no more. It's not gonna have a place at the top of the game anymore. Cause guess what? The return, it's not as good a return and all of that. It can be aggressive on off the return, and you know, all these things. They can't keep up with the speed of play from the back of the court now with the two-hander. Guess what? Dimitrov beating Zverev and Alcaraz and playing so amazing quarterfinal and semifinal is just phenomenal. And when you get a guy who's as fun to watch as Dimitrov, who's as good of a shot maker as Grigor, it just elevates it to another level when they're playing this well. In my opinion, it was top 3 level. It was definitely top 5 level. He was playing unbelievable. His performance against Alcaraz completely threw me back. One of the best performances I've seen the last few years from anybody, in my opinion. It was unbelievable stuff. Because Alcaraz, I think, plays quite well in Miami. That made Sinner's win last year against Alcaraz so impressive to me, and also made Dimitrov's win here so impressive to me this year. But yeah, he's back in the top 10, world number 9. He was in the top 10 for a while, but that hasn't happened in 5.5 years, since 2018. And I mean, just like I said, phenomenal level, serving amazing, but also returning great, so aggressive, so confident, which is key, I think. He's now reached 2 finals in the last 3 Masters events, 3 semifinals in the last 4 Masters events. And yeah, back to the top 10 against Zverev. He had 44 winners, 25 errors. And yeah, against Alcaraz, he was just next level all around. So many winners. So many winners from his side, mixing it up so well. And just, you know, that forehand is just killer. The forehand down the line in that match was killer. And just the way he was able to dictate and do everything right. He said he made it look, it was simple to him. He just simplified everything. But the fact that to him, playing the way he did is simple reminds me of Federer, because Federer made everything look easy, but what he was doing was not easy. And so shout out to Dimitrov. But Jannik Sinner is the champion, and he worked hard to get to this point. Second Masters title. This one does feel different from Canada, although people point to the finalists, but Dimitrov here played out of his mind. He had to beat Medvedev in the semifinals, because Medvedev on a hard court, I mean, come on. That's a little bit different. And yeah, I know it's Miami, which plays a little bit slower, especially this year compared to last year, but it's Medvedev on a hard court. And Medvedev didn't show up at his best, but Sinner absolutely did. So Sinner versus Dimitrov, I want to talk a little bit about the final. First of all, post-puke Sinner moniker started from the Sinner versus Dimitrov match that happened in Beijing in the quarterfinals. And yeah, I guess you have to talk about that and the fact that both these guys have been playing amazing since that match. I'll give you the stats. Since Beijing, since their match in Beijing, Sinner has gotten on a run of 38-3. 38 wins, 3 losses. That's 92.6% win percentage. Dimitrov has gotten 29-7. That's 80.5 win percentage. That's from a pool of 41 Sinner matches since they played, and that's a pool of 36 matches that Dimitrov played since that match in Beijing. So here's where I'm going with it. In Jannik's 41 matches before that, from the same pool number of matches, 31-10, 75.6%. Now he's up to 92.6% win rate since they had last played. Dimitrov's last 36 matches before that, 23-13, 63.8% win percentage. He had won 63.8% of the matches he had played before their match. After the match, it went up to 80+. So both guys went up about 17 percentage points in win rate since their match. And that is crazy in itself. But Jannik, obviously, is just on a whole nother level because he was playing pretty well before, pre-US Open, but post-US Open, starting from Beijing, he's been next level. Variety, defense, not missing early forehands, serve is astonishingly good. That kind of started in Canada, I think, with the pinpoint. But yeah, those are some of the stats in the from the Sinner versus Dimitrov. But yeah, Dimitrov as well. I just wanted to say Dimitrov as well because together, going into the match, since the U.S. Open, both guys together are 74-12 since the U.S. Open. So 2 of the most informed guys since the U.S. Open, Dimitrov and Sinner. So this was bound to be good, but also Sinner beating Medvedev in the semis made you feel like Jannik at the moment is going to be tough. And also the serve versus the return dynamic was always going to be tough for Grigor, even though Grigor returned in this tournament literally as good as I've ever seen him in his career. And I also think that Dimitrov played the best tennis I've seen in his career in this tournament. But Dimitrov started off stronger. Actually, he held till up twice. He won 5 of the first 6 points. Jannik's forehand was way off its game. Quite a few forehand errors. He was falling behind the baseline. Jannik was up 30 love at 1-2, and then it went to 30 all. And Grigor finds a great kind of attacking forehand. Jannik is finding himself way behind the baseline. They're kind of going forehand cross court, forehand cross court. Jannik hits a pretty short shot, and Grigor steps in with a forehand down the line. Very good shot, as we've seen him do all week. Just being able to stay right on top of that baseline, kind of Jannik-esque. He gets his chance at 30-40, 1-2. He gets the first break point in the match. It's his. First, I think Grigor gets a good chance to attack on a forehand, a really good chance. He gets out of the way of the ball. He has great space there to really swing at it on the ad side, standing on the ad side, but then he just kind of puts it in play. He's too passive, way too passive, too loopy, and he also starts slicing along this match. I'll get to that, but it's like these are the kind of things that you worry about with Dimitrov when he gets to finals in big situations like this. That being said, for most of this final, Jannik played out of his mind, and it feels like very few players would have had any shot. But this was a moment where I felt like Dimitrov should have went for it, and then later in the rally, Dimitrov runs around another forehand, actually nearly the exact same shot, except Jannik's forehand that he hits to the same spot is a little bit faster. It's still a little bit loopy, but it's coming with more pace. Dimitrov again tries to run around the forehand. This time, he doesn't get out of the way of the ball enough because Jannik hits it with so much pace. And the forehand did start finding itself from Jannik. And Dimitrov this time went for a winner-ish. He went for a way more advantageous shot. Last one was very passive. He goes for the same shot, but much more aggressive, and he hits it out because he just doesn't really get out of the way. He hits an inside-out forehand, just a little bit into the tram lines. So that goes out into the doubles alley, and it's just now it's much less safe. On the safer ball where it would have been safe to go aggressive, he just plays it really safe. Then Jannik starts playing much better tennis. He breaks with an absolutely sensational forehand slide on hard court, which again it's new to the game at this extent. Djokovic really, I think, was the one who popularized it, and we've been seeing it more and more now. But the way these guys can slide on hard courts is a very new kind of common mechanic to be used in the game to this extent. The sliding on hard court had existed, but I really don't feel like it had existed to this kind of a level before. I feel like now it's kind of commonplace. And that might be to do with multiple different reasons, partly like, new shoes that are being added that makes it easier to slide, and like different things like this now that people are doing it more. But either way, very, very crazy that it's so common, and Jannik just does this amazingly. And it goes back to, I always think of this comment that Federer made at Laver Cup right before he put down the racket, which is that speed in getting to balls quicker is arguably one of the most, if not the most kind of most important aspects in tennis. One of the most. And, I agree. And Jannik is, at this point, his defense in this tournament was as good as I've ever seen it. He was defending like crazy. And it's not necessarily the huge kind of long sprints that Alcaraz will have all the time, although sometimes it was, but most of the time it's just getting to the ball a little bit quicker and slide. Why do people even slide on a hard court? It's not to look cool. It's not to just look cool doing it. It's more like getting, getting into the position quicker. Cause, sometimes it takes extra energy and time to take big steps. Sometimes when you can just slide into it and go like that, it'll take quicker, and you can get into position quicker, and still, while you're sliding, hopefully can kind of load up the swing and be ready for it. So that's what I think Jannik is so good at, sliding and then getting into that position quickly. That athleticism, that quickness, that balance that probably comes from a skiing background is so phenomenal, especially for just the way he kind of looks, his body looks, his physicality. Very, very impressive that Jannik is able to do that. But he hits a forehand sliding pass to break at break point. Then at 4-3, 30-all, another big moment in the match, Dimitrov pushing. There weren't that many moments like this. Jannik, it felt pretty one-sided, like Jannik was running away with it, to be honest, for a lot of the match. And it was a pretty quick match, just over an hour. But at 4-3, 30-all, there's a chance, and it's a body serve from Jannik. So many options for Jannik now on the serve. His placement and execution on the serve is amazing. And I've said this before, it doesn't surprise me that he's found himself in this spot. He has the height, he's had the position, the pace from the back of the court. Now it's, translate to the serve, but it's amazing how quickly it's gotten to be as good as it is. And the body serve, love his creativity when he needs it. And I love the body serve every now and again, especially in a big moment when the other opponent's mind is racing and you just put that thing at him, and that can really catch him off guard. So for Dimitrov, tried to do a one-hander, went way wide, and Jannik held. And listen, Jannik just so kind of high margin and high percentage in his game, consistent the way he plays, almost Djokovic-esque, in which everything is just a little too good, and it's consistent even though he's hitting like really difficult, amazing kind of shots. 4-2, 30-all in the first set is a perfect example. Jannik is defending for most of the point, but every shot past the returner serve, which lands like right on the service line, every shot past that return lands deep behind the service line, despite Dimitrov playing a perfect point. Dimitrov plays a perfect point, and he still loses. He's hitting aggressive, he's hitting deep, he hits a great serve, but Jannik hits every shot deep behind the service line. Dimitrov starts attacking. Dimitrov with a big forehand, inside out. Jannik running to the backhand. Now he's running to it. He kind of has to sprint over there to get to it. But unlike nearly all players that play this game on earth, anybody that plays tennis, he doesn't move an inch back. He stays right where he is. He's sprinting to it. Usually you would like give yourself a higher chance to get the ball back and play a little bit more defensive. I mean, that's why you do it. I mean, if you could sprint over to a shot and still try to hit 100 miles per hour, you wouldn't back up or go for a slice. You'd just go for it. But if you tried to do that, you'd probably whiff the ball, even if your name is Nadal, Djokovic, or Federer. So, usually you'd back up and play defensive. Well, Jannik, he doesn't move an inch. He finds a way to hold his ground, stays in place. He shifts his weight and keeps hitting over the ball with topspin for a backhand that lands with interest about a foot or less in front of the baseline. Dimitrov should be in control, and off the rise, he has a big backhand one-hander down the line, which is fantastic. Great redirect, great solid width of the court, opening up the court. Jannik way on the outside corner, and he hits a backhand down the line. But Jannik gets there in no time, so quick now. And he hits a huge, amazing forehand cross-court himself. Again, great depth. And then they exchange 2 more really solid forehands. Then Dimitrov slices it, probably shouldn't, but Jannik's game is so fine margin that if you're not playing perfectly, you almost have to play perfect. If you're not playing like near perfect, then it's just the slice will go slightly wide or your shot will hit the net. Like Jannik is so zoned in right now and so confident with every part of his game. He has so much, so vast a skill set, so talented, can use the full court. And his defense has elevated his game. And it's often the thing that you're not most known for that really brings your game to a new level, right? Like, it's not usually, we know Jannik hits great, incredible, fast backhands and forehands. He has a great forehand, flat passing shot running cross court. He has a really strong, high MPH backhand. Those aren't the things that will probably get you to the next level. The thing that will get you to the next level is improving upon your weaknesses. And now, Jannik's not known for defending. He's not known for, scurrying behind the court like an Alcaraz or a Rafa. That's not what he's known for. But for Jannik anyway, that's exactly the thing that has elevated his game, the defense. Same thing for Dimitrov, by the way. He started playing a little bit more aggressive, being able to play more aggressive against the top players and stay on top of the baseline, play more effective in his defense. That elevated his game. It's often the thing you're not known for. And Jannik's defense in this tournament was just next level. It was just next level. His variety, too. There's so many things you can point to. But anyway, in this point, in the first set, just amazing athlete, changing directions amazingly, keeping the ball deep. And Dimitrov hits a slice error wide. It goes slightly wide, and just such deep, quick shots from Jannik from positions where he has no right to keep it that deep. And he does it consistently. Novak Djokovic, raise your hand. It's a very Djokovic-esque quality from the Italian, from Sinner. But it's, Jannik, I think he's flashy though. He's a flashy player to watch because he hits so many skillful shots that are just, it's so obvious when you watch him that he's the only player on earth, if not a few, that could possibly hit a lot of shots that he hits in matches. Sometimes out of nowhere, it feels like he gets them. You don't expect it with his physicality, with this, with that. You don't expect it, but that makes him a flashy watch. But it's also this uber effectiveness that really kind of lends to his game being so tough for people. And he just has so many options now. And I'll get to that too, but he has so many options. On set point, it's another remarkable backhand, down the line. Another great backhand down the line. On the dead slide, he breaks. It's incredible. It's just right inside of that sideline. And, it's just like the forehand earlier. And, it's like Jannik and Carlos deliver their best in the biggest moments, the set points, the break points, the big matches, the semifinals, the finals, especially at big events. That's when those guys deliver their best tennis. That's why I'm most excited for Sinner Alcaraz matches in the future and more Alcaraz Djokovic. Like, these guys deliver when it matters the most. I think Carlos loves pleasing the crowd. I think Jannik loves those pressure moments. Both those guys do. They bring their best. They switch it up in the big moments. I mean, how cool is it to have two guys with this level of mental strength in Alcaraz and Sinner and this level of, stepping up to the plate on a big moment, and that these are the young guys coming up, because we want to see that from young players. But yeah, he hit just a remarkable backhand slide down the line. Those two sliding passing shots were two of the best shots I saw in the whole tournament, but it's probably just natural and casual for Jannik to do that. So that's what Sinner did, and it's amazing. Sinner's artillery in the second set really hitting through Dimitrov, who really became slicing, and he's kind of pushing. He's not playing the game he played all week. He's finding himself behind the baseline, hitting a few errors, probably not very confident against Sinner. He can't really play the aggressive way on top of the baseline like he did. So he feels like he has to push, he has to slice, he has to do things differently. Now he's just finding himself having to defend. Like I said earlier, the serve, Jannik's serve is just incredible. And the serve versus return dynamics are just so tough. for Dimitrov, because his return isn't great anyway, and Sinner's serve is so good now, especially in this match. Sinner didn't lose. There are some in-match stats in this match that were just unbelievable. But Sinner in this match didn't lose a single first serve point in the whole first set. Whole first set, not a single first serve point. Ended with 88% win rate on first serve. Nothing Dimitrov can do about that, and Jannik was able to get loads of chances. Just real quick, while we're talking about crazy stats, Jannik hit 57 backhands in the match, and he missed 2. Both of those were on the dead run. So, it was like, we talk about stats. Maybe it's like me who more thinks about this stuff, but I thought it was pretty clear to anybody watching. Jannik's backhand was so rock solid in this match. And like I said earlier, it's the constant depth and speed of shot that he gets off that shot too. But like, it was obvious. If you're watching, it was obvious that Jannik's backhand, it was one of the best backhand performances from him. It was amazing. And that really helped too, to win the backhand to backhand versus Dimitrov too and be able to still stay aggressive. So it was a tough matchup, I think. At 4-1, 15-all, Jannik, again, just another crazy point. Jannik's remarkable defense to offense. Also, his variety on display. Dimitrov hits a backhand down the line again, opening up the court, but Jannik hits a ridiculous attacking forehand into the deuce side corner. I mean, this was one of the most ridiculous individual shots to the point. And then Dimitrov forehand down the line from this position. Jannik, again, just doesn't move back somehow. The exact same shot, shifts his weight, puts it forward, just keeps it forward, shifting forward for a perfect shot cross court right on the sideline, and then follows it up to the net with a high percentage volley down the line. He makes everything a little bit boring because he has full control of the court, can do everything right. I mean, listen, you can still point to a few things with Jannik that, like improving consistently the net game and the transition game, but that's gotten a lot better. Drop shot and slices, but that's gotten a lot better too. We saw that in this match. Actually, Jannik was practicing his slice probably to prepare for Dimitrov before the match started. And also first serve percentage, there's a few things, probably the width of the ball consistently will probably get even only better and better, but he's at a place that is so phenomenal. And, it's just been incredible to watch his kind of transition. But yeah, he was hitting all the corners, and now he has more shots to finish off points, hitting to both sides, to finishing it up at the net, just switching up where he's hitting in the court every shot. And he just has more shots to finish off points now, like the volley. And that just makes it so he used to be a bit impatient with early ball forehands in rallies, and now he's just not missing those forehands because now he's more patient and he knows how to build out points, and he knows how to finish points off well too. And that's such a crutch to have, the net if you need it to finish off a point, and especially also the serve to start a point. If you have, the start of a point and the end of a point better off, you'll feel better with the shots in the middle of the point. I feel like the serve in particular has given him a lot of confidence, but also having different ways to finish off points, whether, it's a drop shot or coming to net or this or that. It's still not ideal or perfect, but it's in a better place. I feel like that's given him a lot of confidence. And, I felt like Dimitrov wasn't even trying to switch it up that much, wasn't even coming to net probably as much as he could have in the match, but, it's whatever. I mean, I feel like at 4-1, Dimitrov does come to net. Jannik gets a great kind of lob, has a great get, but Dimitrov has an easy smash put away at break point, just completely misses it. I feel like Dimitrov honestly was just, he was already way out of the match losing it. I feel like he almost had enough of it. And then it's a hole to love by Sinner with a backhand down the line. It's almost a down the middle backhand, but, it's all too good today. It's all too good for Sinner today. Finishes off the match with a backhand down the line. And, Dimitrov, even for what Dimitrov pulled out throughout the tournament, Jannik gets the win, and what a win it is in Miami. He is the best player in the world. To come back after Indian Wells, he always finishes every loss with a smile on his face, always learning. Lost in Indian Wells, came right back and won Miami. Actually, exact same thing that happened last year. Lost to Alcaraz in the semis, didn't win Miami, but he got to the final of Miami, beating Alcaraz in Miami last year. So not the exact same thing. But still, it's good to see Jannik play 4 tournaments. He's won 3 out of the 4, and he's on another level right now, and he is the best player in the world. He's the reigning major champion. Novak's still number 1. He had an insane year last year. I expect Novak to come back with with a vengeance and fury. I still expect him to do some big things and win some big titles. If I had to bet, absolutely. But yeah, I think that, this was such a good win for Sinner. And again, I want to say Dimitrov, so good. Aggressive return on a slightly faster court with the one-hander. So good for the one-handers. But yeah, Sinner, just so good all around. And against Medvedev, it was just crazy. Medvedev definitely didn't play his best, but Sinner was just playing nearly perfect. Nearly perfect. By the way, in the Dimitrov match as well, Sinner won 33 baseline rallies, Dimitrov 18. And he was really defending just as effectively as Dimitrov in the match, but just his aggressive play and serving was way more, effective all across the board. And I guess there are a few things to watch out for. The fight for number one now. The fight for number one. Sinner is about 1,000 points behind Djokovic, right? So he could catch up. The thing is, Djokovic has a lot of points to gain on clay season as well. So both Sinner and Djokovic, is true for both of them. Sinner made it to the Monte Carlo semifinals last year. And I'm kind of forgetting. They switched up the point system for how much you get for semifinals of Masters versus titles. But I'm trying to remember how many points is the semifinals of a Masters tournament? Is that like 360 or is it like 400? Something like that. So he could gain 600 points. But yeah, like I said, Djokovic's got points to gain all over the clay season. I expect him to do so. Djokovic is fantastic on clay. I do think it'll be harder for him on such a grindy surface now that he's only getting older. He's not getting any younger, but he's such a good athlete. I think he'll still be a problem. And yeah, we'll see how Jannik does. I expect, listen, it seems almost a sure thing that by Wimbledon, US Open, if not earlier, that Jannik will be world number one. And we'll have our 29th ATP world number one. Who's going to be the 30th after Sinner? That's a more interesting question. Maybe it might not even be somebody that we know right now. It might be like a Menzik, or we know those guys, Menzik, Fonseca, but it might be one of those, Artur Fils, Holger Rune. We'll see. I don't know. Whoever you believe could get to world number one, that'll be interesting, but it feels a sure thing that Sinner will be the 29th number one in the ATP rankings to ever hold that record since 1973. There was a lot of great kind of number one players before that, but they didn't have an official point system to decide it. But yeah, there's a lot of great players before 1973 as well. But yeah, so Sinner is the best player in the world. Is Dimitrov going to stay a top 10 player? When I did my year-end top 10 rankings, he was my biggest kind of honorable mentions. I was highly considering putting him into the 10th spot. I think he was my biggest kind of potential number 10 that I put, but I did predict that he would get to the top 10 at some point in the season. Will he stay? It's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure. There's a lot of great players. I could see either one happening. I would love to see him keep up the level. If I was to bank on it, I would say maybe no. He's only just made it inside the top 10, and there's just so many other great players, even hanging right outside the top 10 that I could see breaking through, like a Tsitsipas. So, we'll see, but what a run it is for Dimitrov. And does Medvedev have a problem now with winning titles? I talked about this a little bit on the Tennis 360 podcast that came out this week on Quality Shot Tennis. But does Medvedev have a problem? Yes, I think so. I think Medvedev has a bit of a problem with the guys ahead of him. That being said, I am so high on Medvedev and his skill set that I think he will still win some matches against Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic in the future. But I think it's only going to get harder, especially as they keep improving. I think it's a bad matchup for him. I think Medvedev is going to end up one of the more unluckier players in tennis history, with first finals against Novak and Rothman. Then it's going to be Sinner, Alcaraz, who, you always have great players, which is true. But it feels like such a bad matchup for him with those two guys, with the aggressive play that they have and the skills that they have, now coming to net, which was not that big of a thing in the Medvedev match in the semis here, but it was a big thing in a lot of their matches last year. But yeah, but does Medvedev have a problem? Yeah. Sinner just beat him 6-2, 6-1. And, it's crazy. 6-1, 6-2. Medvedev was losing 6-1, 6-1, 4-1, 30 love. And then Medvedev hit, I think, one of the shots of the tournament. It was never going to be on tennis TV because the result of the match, but Sinner kind of hit a great serve out wide, and Medvedev was way behind the baseline, right in the corner where a line judge would be, almost in the crowd, way out wide in the corner, way outside the court. And Sinner, he hits a forehand cross court. Sinner kind of picks it up almost for like a drop shot, kind of an awkward drop shot, but he hits over it. Kind of picks it up off the rise, and it falls very short. Medvedev fully on the dead run. It's a blast, like runs about a mile, gets the backhand down the line for a passing shot. And then you're like, oh, Sinner is beating Danielle Medvedev 6-1, 4-1, 30 love, now 30-15. You're like, oh, it was almost like that shot was there to remind us how crazy Sinner is playing at the moment. Sinner played a perfect match. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Served amazing. Felt like he had all the shots. So many different ways to beat Medvedev now, and Medvedev just had a very off day. But yeah, those are some of the biggest things that kind of happened on the men's side. Do I expect Medvedev to win more big titles? Yes, when the draw opens up. He's too good on hard courts to not. I would still, if I was to make a best bet, I would say that Medvedev will get another hard court slam. It's only going to get tougher though. But I think Australian Open was encouraging more than discouraging by about 100 times, because he found ways to get through so many tough matches. And if anything, that's a good, the first 2 sets he played against Sinner before he arguably ran out of gas, was a big indication that he can still compete against Sinner. He can still compete against Alcaraz like at the US Open last year. But would I be lying if I said that I'm hopeful that he'll be able to figure it out like easy and beat them a lot more times? Yeah, I'd be lying. I would honestly be lying, because I think the matchup is so tough for him. But I hope Medvedev's too good. I hope he can get some big titles, because he's too good to just fall away to the kind of era that he's in, kind of the in between. And I hope that he can pick it up and figure it out, because he's such a good addition in tennis. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts that I want to get to on the men's side. My predictions before the tournament started, I had Sinner beating Alcaraz in 3 sets. Alcaraz didn't get there. It was another kind of powerhouse shot maker in Grigor. So I had Sinner winning. I was happy about that. I think everybody and their mom chose Sinner to win this tournament, despite him losing in the semifinals of Indian Wells. But he's just so good in Miami. People talk about he's the youngest player to get to 3 Miami Open finals. But he's also in the other one time he played Miami and he didn't get to the final, got to the quarterfinals and he had to retire, barely played the match against Francisco Cerundolo, who was, I think, outside the top 100 at the time. So he should have gotten to the semis likely. No offense to Francisco Cerundolo, but if he was not injured, you would have thought that he had a pretty decent shot at it. And then he would have had Casper in the semis. Say what you will. Big ups to Ruud, fantastic player who's playing amazing at just beating Zverev, who's so tough in Miami and on hard courts. But like that was an opportunity as well. So Sinner in Miami is crazy, but I was happy I got Sinner right. I had Sinner versus Medvedev. My other semi was completely off. I said that in my last video too. I had Humbert, or my other 2 semifinalists. I had Humbert in there, and I forgot who else I got, but who else I had, but it was well off. I think I had Rune as well, Rune and Humbert, who were off. But anyway, that was kind of my thoughts on the men's tournament at Miami, and also talk about the WTA side just a little bit. Danielle Collins played sensationally well. She beats Rybakina, Rybakina was fighting illness throughout most of this tournament. And Rybakina had won 4 3-set matches to even get to the final, including fantastic matches against Sakkari and Azarenka. Azarenka's was so topsy-turvy, both players fighting so well. And against Sakkari, I thought that was one of the best matches I've seen of the year so far. Unbelievable drama. Sakkari saving match points in the second set. But the backhand of Collins was a sight to behold in this tournament. So aggressive. She looked confident. Against Rybakina in Abu Dhabi, it was close, but it felt like a loss that maybe Collins needed to have. Also against Swiatek to get to this level where now it feels kind of unstoppable. I feel like now we could almost call it a Sinner type of, results growing based on the results that you're having and you're even losing, because you can learn from those matches. So the fact that, she lost close matches to Swiatek and Rybakina, maybe she wouldn't be at the place where she is now and, even doing well in Charleston at this point if she hadn't had those losses. So In Abu Dhabi, it felt like she was very close, but just mentally not quite doing as well on the big points. Rybakina converted in Miami. She converted on 1 out of 11 break points. That means Collins saved 10 out of 11 break points that she faced. In Abu Dhabi, she only converted on half, 6 out of 12. She got broken 6 times. So she was playing the big points much better here. Just fully confident, more aggressive, right on the baseline. In the Rybakina match, she was finding herself more behind the baseline. And it also helped that she was playing a lot of quick matches. That's to her credit. She played 12 consecutive sets where she didn't lose more than 3 games. And I think a big question is it something about Collins, playing with less pressure that's gotten her to this point now, maybe? Like, maybe it's the fact that she's not playing with as much pressure, and now that's her farewell season. I don't know if that's true. She played amazing to get the Australian Open final a couple of years ago, but so good to see players with such high peak level playing at this kind of a level. And also against Alexandrova, who I thought played one of the best performances I've seen the last year or so against Swiatek. Also so aggressive right on top of the baseline. Who just played unbelievable, but she didn't even play bad against Collins. She kind of kept up a pretty high level too, but Collins was just unplayable, utterly bashing the ball, playing it so well all over. At 4-2 in the second set, it was just pure strength and willpower, desire. Her passion to win the tournament was obvious. 2 ridiculous backhand return winners just in the zone. Then 2 other huge backhand returns help her to win and to break. Then at 30 love in the second to last game, she hits a drop shot. And then she wins the match just with another winner. I mean, Collins was out of her mind this tournament, so aggressive, and just felt like it was her tournament to lose 110%. And yeah, what an athlete too. And it's sad she's retiring, but I guess that's her decision. And Alexandrova, shout out to her. She had a great tournament. Also Azarenka. I mean, she's still around playing phenomenal. I hope that keeps up. But Alexandrova, she loves a faster court, hard court, a grass court. I'd watch out for her at Wimbledon. Got to a Wimbledon 4th round last year. But, man, this is setting up for quite the season. I don't know if we should expect much from Danielle Collins until the North American hard court swing, but if Rybakina stays healthy, please, God, just keep these players healthy. When she's playing, she's great. She could just not, be healthy in the events because she's dealing with constant illness, which is tough to see. So hopefully she can stay healthy. She'd be amazing seeing the conversation. Then you have Goff, you have Sabalenka, you have Osaka's back, and you have so many great players there. And it's turning out to be Jabeur. Now Garcia's playing at a high level, Alexandrova, and so many other players as well. So hopefully that keeps up. And Swiatek, how well she can do at the majors, because she's the big favorite right now, the most in form, despite losing to Alexandrova this week. So I don't think it told us that much about the top of the game on the women's side, but it still makes me excited for how Swiatek looks at the slams. It makes me excited for how Sinner looks at the slams, because I've said this before, but Sinner doesn't have that thing of I can lose. He doesn't have that many losses in the bank while he's playing at this top of the level. He is just playing on pure confidence. He's playing on pure confidence. And he's only losing to the best of the best. Djokovic at ATP Finals, Alcaraz in Indian Wells. Those are his only 2 losses of the last, it feels like a year now. Not quite that, but he's playing amazing. He's been on another level since US Open ended, starting from Beijing. So, how these players do at the slams is going to be exciting. Clay court season is going to be interesting. I would really watch out for Alcaraz. He's back. We saw how he did at Indian Wells. Once again, I think Dimitrov in Indian Wells played one of the better performances I've seen, recently. It really threw me aback. And I have a video talking about that too, that I'll put above. But yeah, I think that, come on. I think that Alcaraz is a big favorite. He loves clay courts. He's got 86, 87+% win rate on clay. And, but yeah, I hope Rafa's healthy. I hope Novak is healthy. And, to see Sinner at such high level, but clay being probably his worst surface, probably. And then having Djokovic and Alcaraz, as not question marks, but not quite in that form, but still at a very high form and very high kind of praise, with Djokovic having the season he had, Alcaraz just having Indian Wells. So clay court season is bound to be great, and I expect Alcaraz to pick it up and be very winning, honestly, but I also expect Sinner to have his best season yet. Just watch his match versus Kokkinakis in Rome, won half a golden set versus Kokkinakis, was unplayable. he's had loads of great runs in clay tournaments that have been impressive, like Umag. Monte Carlo's had some tight losses to Rune, to Zverev, but he can play well on clay. 3 4th rounds at Roland Garros. I expect Sinner to have his best clay season, but I would honestly really watch for Alcaraz on the clay, because Alcaraz picks up his level. I think he's going to be really determined to be like, he's had so much pressure of, you're the next clay guy, you're a Spanish guy, you're like with what Rafa did and how well he plays on clay, you're the next clay guy, do well at Roland Garros. Watch out for him at Roland Garros and Roland Garros Olympics. I think he's going to come for it because he has the motivation. Sinner, everybody says they have the motivation for Olympics. How good are the Olympics going to be? I mean, really, when it was played at Wimbledon in 2012, it was amazing. Now that's going to be played at Roland Garros with so many names, competitive on clay. That's going to be just totally nuts. So super excited to see that. And, I think that's potential to be one of the all-time great tournaments, especially if we get Rafa healthy. Please, let's get Rafa healthy. Last breaths of the big three. And I have a big three video that I'm going to put out as well. If I haven't decided if I'm going to post this podcast first or that big three video, but anyway, check that out as well. My video on the big three, and I'll have that above as well, linked above my head. And thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to Anthony's Tennis Hub for more podcasts like this. I have some guests that I want to put on the podcast and chat with them as well. Hopefully you guys like the new background as well. I added some stuff to the background. This is where I'm usually going to be filming stuff for Anthony's Tennis Hub, this channel. Super fun. I love talking about tennis on this channel, and I might switch to some other backgrounds for some of the other videos, but anyway, most of the time I'll be in here, and there's a lot more stuff coming. So I appreciate everybody watching Anthony's Tennis Hub, and I'll see you guys at the next one for Monte Carlo stuff coming up. See you guys then.